Welcome to the Kiwimana Bay. Hi, this is episode 72 of our beekeeping podcast. This week we are talking about the disappearance of bees, liquid gold and transforming your balcony. And also talking about the end of our kiwi bee season here in New Zealand.
Absolutely, and the executive producers this month are Lauren Hoffman and Aaron Jennings, all the way from Louisiana, and from Jennings Apries. Check out their podcast. It's fantastic.
Absolutely, and it's great to have that kind of support, and we really appreciate it. And
yeah, absolutely, and welcome to the Kiwimana Buzz, and I'm Gary.
And I'm Margaret.
And we are beekeepers from the hills, the Waitaki Ranges in West Auckland, New Zealand. And our podcast is about gardening and political issues, about environmental issues, and we've been known to go off on tangents.
Oh, I like this new voice you're putting on there, Gary. It's very interesting.
What new voice? The show notes for this podcast are kiwimana.co.nz/72.
Yeah, and thank you for taking time to listen to our show, and we know you have busy lives, and we appreciate that you have taken that time to have a listen and join us. So welcome.
Yeah, welcome. Thanks a lot for coming today, guys. It's fantastic.
Okay, Gary, you start. What's happening?
Well, we've launched our new website. It's all mobile friendly, so Mr. Google will be very happy.
Oh, absolutely.
And did you know that the show notes, we've got a smaller version of the podcast show notes are behind the screen if you listen to it on an iPad or an iPod or one of those things.
How does that work, Gary?
What you do is when you're listening to the show, you click on the picture or the big logo, and you can actually see the show notes with all the links behind it.
Oh, okay, that sounds interesting. It's sort of like prompt for what's being discussed.
Yeah, it's kind of like a smaller version of the main show notes, which will be at kiwimana.co.nz/72. So yeah, check that out if you're out and about, or in your car or whatever, and you can look at the show notes, but not when you're driving.
No, absolutely not. That's forbidden.
Indeed.
And just let us know if you have any issues or something's not working for you. Just send us an email at info@kiwimana.co.nz, and we will look into it for you.
Absolutely, and we've been busy cleaning up the workshop, haven't we? We've been battling mice, and they're trying to make their home for winter, aren't they?
Yeah, and these ones are real sneaky little things, and they're just eating all the peanut butter that Gary's feeding them, so they're going to be quite healthy going into winter.
Yeah, and it's expensive peanut butter as well.
It is. It's purely organic, so they really are getting the good stuff.
Yes, they're not setting off the traps, so that's no good.
Oh, okay, and you've also mentioned that they are just clearing the traps but not setting them.
No, not setting them off, and it's been bad. But this weather this week has been very bad, so I can't blame them for trying to find somewhere nice and warm, can you?
Absolutely not, but, they do make a terrible smell. Yuck.
Yep, they do, and the weather last week was horrendous. It was been raining, and even snowing in the south of New Zealand.
Yeah, and also our power went down for 16 hours, and then when they put the power back up, when they managed to do that, our hot water didn't go on, so we had another 3 days on top of that without any hot water, actually 4 days. So, we finally got that going. You just don't miss these wonderful things that have been given to us, like power and hot water, until they're not there, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So we're a bit behind, but now we've got power and we're recording again.
And just on that bad weather note, I just want to send our, thoughts out to Texas, where there's a lot of flooding going on, and, we know what it's like when the nature gives us so many big challenges, and we're just thinking of you and hope that everything gets sorted really soon. And
yes, absolutely. And the other thing is, we're hunting wasps update. We haven't really done a lot of hunting wasps, have we? The weather's been so bad they've been staying at home. So
yeah, in some ways it's been quite good because it's been such bad weather. Hopefully the nests are all getting full of water for the wasps, and that they're all drowning. But indications is that they are ravenous. And I was looking at a hive today which happened to have a huge amount of wasps, just hammering it. So the owner closed up the whole hive for most of the day. And that is a bit of a risk if you have got a solid bottom board, because the colony can get quite hot. But if you have a screen on there, make some sort of mesh screen or have some mesh bottom board and lift your hive up off the ground so you don't cook your colony.
Absolutely, but in this weather it'd probably be okay, wouldn't it? It's freezing.
Yeah, it's not too bad here, but just remember that, guys. There are risks with closing off the hive completely.
Absolutely. And so what have you been up to, Margaret? I heard from a rumour that you've been doing a beekeeping course.
We had our beekeeping course apiary visit, but we couldn't make that happen because of that bad weather. So we had to cancel it. So the course is actually finished now, rather than started, Gary. Just to let you know there.
Thank you.
A bit behind the times, but I'll forgive you that one.
Okay. But are you doing another apiary visit at some point?
Yeah, we reschedule it when we get some fine weather, but we're a bit busy this weekend. And this weekend on the 1st of June, here in New Zealand, we are celebrating Queen's birthday weekend, so it's a longer weekend for us. And it's the 1st of June, so yeah, winter officially hits. And that means the temperature this morning when I got up, I checked on the deck, it's got 8 degrees. So
wow.
The bees weren't even interested in going out. So it was really cold. And we're getting a new wood fire in the next few weeks, and I can't wait for that. And then we can cook. If the power goes off, then we can cook.
That's going to be fantastic.
And make a cup of tea. Yay!
Yeah, so we'll have to put a photo of that on the one of the Facebooks or whatever.
Yeah, we'll put something out there and show off our new baby to keep us warm. So I think Snow will like that too.
Yep, I think we'll all like that.
Okay, so
and you found foul brood.
I want to talk about that last. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay. Well, what do you want to talk about?
Tree hive, beehive.
Tree hive, beehive. What's this about?
Oh, this is a really cool thing that happened, and it's a hive, a colony that we found up a tree, and the blog will be coming out next week, and it's about a tree hive, beehive, and yeah, you've got to watch this space. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I want the article, the blog, to speak for itself.
Okay. Well, that'll be coming out the week after this podcast is released, so look out for that, guys.
Yeah, and we did a demonstration of the kiwi oxalic acid vaporizer at the Auckland Bee Club. It was kind of an impromptu, quick thing, and that was good. So we are selling quite a few of the vaporizers at the moment because it's a great winter treatment because it's very non-invasive, and you don't have to open the whole hive to do this treatment. So you use oxalic acid, and it's crystals, and with a vaporizer, which creates a heat exchange and just makes it so easy for us to deal with. And we do it once a week over 4 weeks. So if you did it on a Monday, you do it the following Monday at the same time, and then you just repeat that 4 times, basically.
Yeah, it works really well. So we'll probably be doing our quarantine apiary this weekend, won't we, if the weather holds up?
Yes, we're hoping to do that, and also check out how the tree hive, beehive is doing, and more about that, as I said. And annual disease returns, they need to, in New Zealand we have an annual disease return form which comes to you, which is all about registering your apiary, and that needs to be paid by the end of May. Basically the 1st of June it should be paid. And then in about June we will get our letters about doing our DECA inspections for AFB recognition, and that is required by all registered beekeepers, and everyone should be doing disease checks anyway every time they look into their hive is my recommendation. So get those done, guys. And back to what you were saying about the ending my winter, my bee season here in New Zealand. Unfortunately, in the last couple of beekeeper inspections I've done, I've found American foul brood, and yeah, it's very heartbreaking. I really do get affected by it. I try not to, but it means a loss of colonies, and it's not only the colonies that you've inspected and found it in, it's the ones that are nearby or not far away that, have got it too. So there's probably a lot more out there than we can see. So
yeah, absolutely.
That was very sad for me to end my bee season and having to have that. But, at least we found it and it can be dealt with. So that was kind of like saying about the season has been a really unusual season, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's very sad, isn't it, when you've had to discover the American foul brood?
Yes, it was a very difficult way to end the season. It has been a very challenging year for us here in New Zealand. I'm sure that I speak for a lot of us when we talk about how we had challenges with raising queens, and it affected commercial guys as well. We had a lot of colonies that just couldn't get themselves together. They had long periods of rain where there was no honey left after being locked in the hives for a few days. They just ate all their honey. And yeah, basically it was a pretty tough season all round. But at the moment we're looking quite strong. We've got all our colonies surviving pretty well. We have to do some end of season disease checks and just, check the space in the hives and that kind of thing. So that's the next step, and then we probably won't touch the hives for another few weeks, and then we'll be coming into around July and looking at mite levels and everything like that. So if you haven't done any treatments, my advice is to get a vaporizer and do an oxalic acid one and get that sorted. The ApiLife VAR is very, very efficient, but because the temperatures have dropped quite significantly, it probably won't work as effectively. You might need to place it right above the cluster to get enough heat to make it work. So, but that's a sort of a grooming behaviour rather than the oxalic acid where it suffocates the varroa itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it has been a tough season. What do you think about the season that's just finished now?
It's been quite busy. Good learning experience about product stuff. Trying to keep up with everything's been a challenge. I think we did better this season than last season. I think we've kept up with things more because we've had a lot of help and we've been more onto it, I think.
Yeah, I think that's been a really interesting thing, and a lot of our beginners are really engaged with their colonies, and I think that's been a real pleasure, and a joy to me because, they're so engaged with their bees and really want to do the right thing. The telling part now is the next few months and looking at the results in August, to see what the hives are like, and yeah, that's going to be the next part of the challenge for them. Yeah, so it has been very challenging. We've got heaps of gear now, and we're rebuilding our stock. As Gary was saying, we've been working in our workshop and trying to set it up differently. And yeah, along with that, it's meant that we have been able to really build up the apiary gear itself, and so we got everything ready for the next season, and now we just have to spend winter building and cleaning and tidying all the apiary stuff up and getting our new gear built and the old stuff tidied up.
Yes, absolutely. So we'll be producing less newsletters and podcasts over the next couple of months because we'll be busy in the workshop.
Yeah,
and you can't hear us talking above the table saw.
Yeah, it's going to be cool because we'll set it up a bit different because we've been doing a lot of classes this year, and it's been really rewarding, and I just love it. And what awesome students I get. They're just so keen and interested, and it's just really, it makes it so worthwhile. So, Yeah, it's been a tough season, but we come out of it with a lot of learning, and so we look forward to a bit of a break and then on to the next thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, should we move on to blog recap?
Oh, yeah,
sorry.
okay.
Don't blog recap.
Let me.
Okay.
These are the top 3 blog posts that you guys, got into over the last month. And the first one is don't pee on beehives.
Good advice.
Cool. Yeah, that was the episode 70, and that was one of the top ones.
And the next one was how to prepare a beehive for winter in New Zealand. This was quite good because it caused a lot of controversy around the world.
This was awesome, man. It says here, there is an art to wintering down a beehive, and this is Kiwimana's guide on how to do it with these 5 simple steps.
Yes.
Step 1, assess. Okay, you go in, you have a look what's going on in the hive. Okay, you see what's how much brood there is, everything like that. Then you've got 2, record your findings so that you can see in black and white what you are finding. Then number 3, from the records that you've made, you go in and you rearrange your colony in a way that it's going to make it protected over winter. So rearranging frames, and then you reduce it. And when you do reducing, it's about removing frames that are not full of anything. Okay? And then treat. So the concept is that you do it sooner than this. It's too late now, basically, but you should.
Too late for New Zealand, yeah.
Yeah, New Zealand would have had this done, but this is a basic guide because it just means that you can get your colony set up. And I would recommend in New Zealand to do it when, Gary?
I would say autumn, so...
That'd be 1st of March.
1st of March-ish, yeah.
Yeah, through April you're probably looking at doing a bit of treatment, or you do your reducement first, because generally you would have taken the honey off by April, eh?
Yeah, that's right. But I was listening to Kevin Ingram from the BK Corner podcast, and their season's ending in July, which isn't that far away, is it?
No, that's a really short season, isn't it?
Yeah, they only have a couple of months of honey flow, so...
Yeah, it's not long. I mean, we here in New Zealand, we have brood all year round, so we're always constantly monitoring and checking for mite presence, because if you get any issues with mites in the hive, it can really drop a colony really quickly. And with this AFB that I've been finding, a lot of them aren't laying any new eggs. There's just no new eggs in there, and that is... I've never seen so much of this over this last season.
Yeah, well, we're talking more about that later on, with the story about disappearing bees. And the third most popular blog post was, what was it?
I wanted to talk about the controversy.
Oh, let's rewind back. Controversy.
Anyway, yeah, there was a bit of controversy with this article because Gary posted it on the New Zealand Beekeepers Forum. And there was controversy about the method used, and I basically did a big response to it because I felt that we had addressed the issues that are required. But one of the comments was about that it was too late, that it should have been done earlier, and I agree with that in one context. But in another context, up here in Auckland, we had a really late honey flow. So one of the things that happened is that people were taking the honey off late and they were taking too much off. So the hives weren't getting enough food. So the recommendation is what we do is we actually leave a honey box on top with 10 frames of honey on for each colony. Because here in Auckland, when we have such long periods of rain, there's no food. And we don't like to sugar feed. We'd rather the bees eat their own food. And more about that coming up, folks. But
yes,
so that caused quite a controversy. And I invited the commenters to, get in touch with us and, talk to us about what what they do in their areas and what their recommendations are, because, every area has its own microclimate and different from here. So we love to hear that feedback, but unfortunately they were too scared.
Well, one person responded. They said they really agree with it, so that was good.
Yeah, we had really good positive feedback for it because the comments that were coming up were, a bit on the nose, I think, because I don't know if they had read the whole article properly.
No, it's all good.
But we had some really good support from it saying, we love what you've put out there and we think it's great and it's really helped us. So thanks for that, guys, because we love that support too,
Absolutely. And beekeeping forums can be funny places.
Yeah, but it's good to have that banter because, if you all are on the same page, living in the same place, then I'd understand where you would not have any other views. But because we all have different environmental impacts and different areas and temperatures and, implications, because New Zealand's a very coastal country, so we get a lot of weather changes through, very close areas. So, yeah, I think it was good, but I would have loved it if they had said yes and they'd come and talk to us, because then we could have put something together for their areas. So, an opportunity missed for them, I guess.
Absolutely. Well, let's move on to number 3.
Okay, now this is about treatment-free beekeeping with Solomon Parker.
Yes.
That was episode 69. How did you find that one?
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed talking to Solomon. I enjoy listening to his podcast too. It's good.
So what were 3 things that you took out of your discussions with him?
His methods of the way he splits hives is really good. I think also he mentions about all beekeeping is local.
Oh, I agree with that completely.
And I can't think of the other ones. You've put me on the spot here.
I know. I like to do that.
No, it was good. I enjoyed it and had a lot of positive feedback about it. And and he's released some more recent podcasts, so check him out at parkerfarms.biz.
Awesome. Okay, what's coming up now, Gary? Let's move on.
Move on to the news. Beekeeping news. News you can use from around the world.
And here at Kiwimana HQ, we're suffering from 8 degrees cold Celsius.
It is cold tonight.
And winter is hitting us at the moment here, and we bring all this news to you from the comfort of our home.
Yes, hopefully with a fire soon. But let's move on.
Yay! Woohoo!
Anyway, this one's a sad story. It's a mystery. Disappearance of bees is a mystery. This is a worrying story from New Zealand about CCD-like symptoms experienced in New Zealand. We discussed a Radio New Zealand article about the situation, and we will play the audio for you.
Bee scientists have been left baffled by the disappearance of many thousands of honeybees from hives last spring and say unless it happens again, the cause will remain a mystery. A bee scientist at Plant and Food Research, Dr. Mark Goodwin, says last October a number of beekeepers from around the country began reporting strange symptoms occurring in their hives. He says bees usually rebuild their colonies in spring after the winter. However, large numbers of bees were disappearing from hives in the Coromandel, Raglan and Wairarapa areas.
So instead of having a queen and a lot of brood, that's larvae and pupae, and about 30 or 40,000 bees, then when the beekeeper came back a few weeks later, when the colonies were nice and strong like that, suddenly there were no bees there at all. There was a queen and about a handful of bees, and everybody else had gone. And we saw that in whole apiaries and between apiaries, and then we were getting reports from beekeepers elsewhere in the North Island that were noticing very similar things.
Dr. Goodwin says it's left him, beekeepers and the Ministry for Primary Industries, which is also trying to work out what happened, scratching their heads.
For 25,000 bees to leave a hive and go somewhere else is usually a symptom of a disease of some description. And when a colony dies of varroa, the reason the varroa kills it is that it spreads viruses from bee to bee, and then the typical behaviour of a bee that's sick is it flies away somewhere and dies. And the reason that it probably does that is so that it's not going to die inside the hive and spread the disease to its nest mates. But when you get a large number of bees disappearing, in this case nearly everything, it suggests that they're all sick for some reason and have decided to go out and die somewhere else.
Mark Goodwin says a relatively new disease to affect New Zealand honeybees, Nosema ceranae, could be the cause.
It's a gut parasite that has jumped species from another species of Asian bee and somehow found its way to New Zealand. And it was located, first off, in the same sorts of locations in the Coromandel where most of this, what we see now, these bee losses had been occurring. So it's tempting to think that there's a relationship between them. And when we got bees tested, they came back with high levels of this gut parasite. But they also came back with high levels of viruses as well. So what's cause and effect here, we don't know.
Dr. Mark Goodwin of Plant and Food Research.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that, when you listen to the symptoms and everything, it is quite scary. And, we've watched a few of those movies about CCD over in America, and they would come back and the hive would be gone. But, I think that this Nosema issue in Coromandel, they were talking about that at the beginning of the season. So this is quite some months ago. And there was a lot of commercial guys that I chatted to that was saying that they were losing quite a few hives. And they said that they're looking at whether it's the aphids that were feeding on the willow trees that were bringing it in. So maybe the aphids have got something to do with it as well.
Do you mean they were spreading the Nosema?
Yeah, I'm not sure, because it all seems to be connected, and now they're saying it's the Nosema thing. But first they were talking about the aphids on the willow trees, and we have mentioned this before. But yeah, it is scary, and I just hope that it doesn't become anything worse and that winter kills it off,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll have to try and see if we can get Mark Goodwin on the podcast and see if he can shed some more light, if he's got any more updates about this.
I'm sure there will be something, and we'll just keep an eye on that for you guys so you can hear what the updates are.
Absolutely, and some feedback about this. We've had feedback from Jude Parenti, and she said, yes, had bees in September, then October they were gone. Also, was not a good growing year for a lot in the area. Very strange season indeed. Yeah, I agree. The season has been strange.
It has been, yeah. It's been a really difficult season, I think. As I was saying before, that there's been some challenges that we haven't faced, and like this would be our 7th season of beekeeping. And when I say 7th season, that's 7th year of our beekeeping, that this is a totally different challenge that we've had. And, we're just keeping an eye on the health of our girls, and we might need to feed them too, because the honey flow was so late. And even though we've kept a lot of honey on, there wasn't a lot for them to produce. So
true. And Laura Doherty, who we've actually met, haven't we? Because she's from California.
Yes.
And she said that she's sorry to hear about this. And we are too, Laura.
Yeah,
so
thanks, Laura and John over there. And we're thinking of you. And it was good to meet you at that time. And thanks for your thoughts on this. And we appreciate it. It is difficult. And I know that we beekeepers all, feel when people lose their hives.
Absolutely. If anyone's got any information about Nosema that they'd like to share, if you can put some comments on kiwimana.co.nz/72. If you've got some ways to prevent it or to get rid of it, that would be really awesome.
And that moves us along to this next article, Sugar Syrup Shortens the Life of Bees. Now, this is something that I've always been a bit suspicious of, and how sugar syrup feeding, which is a huge practice in commercial sectors, to take the honey off and to feed sugar syrups. And, I think when you look at sugar, it's just a huge energy source. It's not really a nutrient-based energy, is it?
Absolutely. This is a 3-year study that's just been concluded, and the honey is the best feed for your bees, and it even increases the average life of a bee by 6 days.
Yeah, the comment says, it is a common habit of most beekeepers to remove all the honey from the hives and then feed with sugar syrup. So they come through the winter. But now the question is, to what extent does this artificial diet harm the bees?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think a lot of commercial people may do this, but I don't know if it's a common practice. We'd have to find out.
Well, it is a common practice. Generally what happens is, from my understanding, is that the bees are all wintered down to one box and they only get a couple of honey frames in there, maybe 4 at the most. The rest is just the few bees as the colony gets smaller. And then what they do in August is they start feeding the sugar syrups.
Yeah.
And then, it goes from there.
Stick with honey, guys.
Yeah, we've got some feedback on this from Caroline Davies. Caroline. Thank you. Take away the natural and varied food source for any living thing, replace it with sugar, and, well, it isn't rocket science. The metaphor equivalent can be seen almost endlessly here on Earth. So true.
Amen, Caroline. I think sugar is evil.
Yeah, they're finding that sugar's linked to quite a few sicknesses and illnesses, and that's a whole other tangent to go off on.
It is. That's another podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
And the next story, how to capture a bee swarm. This is a great primer. In How to Catch a Bee Swarm, read about bee catching Iwo Jima style. Iwo Jima. And this one mentions Linda Tillman, who was interviewed on episode 46.
Yeah, this is a cool article. I think you guys will like it. It'll, if you read it now, it'll get you prepared for around August, spring, August, September in New Zealand, when we start building up towards the population growing. And that's the time you should be inspecting your hives for swarm cells.
Or if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, this could be relevant right now.
Yeah, exactly. We've heard about this, We had one guy talk about that he went out and had 3 swarms at once, so it's definitely going on over there, that's for sure.
And I like this Iwo Jima style. It's awesome.
Yeah, and Linda's great at telling the story. It's wonderful, and she's got some great pictures. So the comment is, whether you're a new beekeeper or a homeowner with a problem, here's what to do if thousands of honeybees descend upon your backyard.
Yep, call a beekeeper.
Yeah.
Not a pest controller.
Yeah, that's it. Local councils, take note. Get a swarm catcher list for your local area and have that available and get your customer services people to put them on to those guys.
Absolutely. And this next one was actually sent in by Cade from Sheffield in Tasmania, which is in Australia for all you overseas people. And this is a video about the Manuka honey industry in New Zealand and Australia and Australia's endeavours in copying the success of Manuka honey with their jellybush honey. Well worth a watch.
Well, it's interesting. The best form of flattery, I hear, is being copied.
That's right. Let's listen to the intro to this video.
Dairy may still be the darling of New Zealand agriculture, but there's a growing buzz about gold, liquid gold. Producers of Manuka honey believe their product's antibacterial properties could, within years, underpin an annual export business worth more than $1 billion. But first, the industry needs to stop fake Manuka honey, and it's enlisted a Queensland scientist to help.
Indeed they have, and this is a really good video. It's about 15 minutes, eh?
Yeah, and spoken in a true Australian accent, I might add. So liquid gold, as opposed to the Kiwi accent, which is liquid gold. So, you guys work it out.
We can't hassle our friends in Australia.
Absolutely not. We're just unique.
That's right. But this is a really good documentary, and they're talking about jellybush honey, which is, I'm pretty sure it's actually a Manuka tree as well. Yeah,
it looks like it is a Manuka tree. And the other thing about it is that they're still doing studies on it and calling it jellybush. It just kind of like says it's Australians Manuka on the label. So I think there's one thing in this article is so true about false honey. And we've heard so many stories over the years about honey being, watered down to such a degree that it's it's hardly honey anymore. So there's a lot of counterfeiting going on out there and, false representation. So it would be really good if we could get a worldwide agreement on how honey should be, put out there.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I wouldn't have thought it'd be too difficult because it's one specific component, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that New Zealand have got best honey in the world, in my view.
Well, that's right. And it'd be interesting to see if this jellybush honey has got the same active ingredients. I think it does, but it's... And as we know from talking to Cliff Van Eaton, that the Manuka tree was actually originally from Australia many, many hundreds of thousands of years ago.
Yeah, that's a great book too, eh?
Yes, and I'm currently editing the video with Peter Molan about his discoveries with Manuka honey, so that's coming out soon.
Oh, we'll wait for that with bated breath, Gary. Awesome work you do. Okay, moving on to another article about Manuka honey this time and why it's great for your skin. This is a great article that discusses ways you can use Manuka honey in your beauty routine. Did you hear that, Gary? Did you know that you can heal acne, repair skin, hydrate your skin, and it has anti-aging properties?
Fantastic. Is that why you're so beautiful, Margaret?
Oh, yes, dear. Absolutely. I do use our Manuka honey from Earthbound Honey. I get their honey, and theirs is raw bush honey, and it talks about that in this article, and also in the Liquid Gold article. And yeah, I use it on cold sores if I get cold sores, and I also use it on cuts and burns, and I found it just so awesome. And I'd recommend it. So check out this article. I'll read you the little blurb that goes with it. It says, a few months ago, the stress I was experiencing in my life started showing up on my face. Major life changes, lack of sleep, and a less than perfect diet began taking a toll on my emotional and mental well-being. Physically, the stresses manifested in a lackluster complexion, facial dryness, and so on. So that's the start. Breakouts that of the caliber of which I hadn't seen since my early teens. So
wow, this is an article by Brianna McCauley. So check that out.
Awesome.
It's awesome.
Everything is awesome.
And we had a comment from Renee Wynyard. She said, awesomeness.
We're with you, Renee. Thanks for the shout out. And awesomeness is what we're all about.
And the next one.
This is great to finish on this article. And I think it's pretty cool.
Okay, 6 solutions for transforming your balcony into a biodiversity sanctuary. This is a great article about how to help nature, even if you live in the city and don't have much land. These include
an insect hotel, honey-producing plants, setting up a beehive. Everyone should have one of them. Anyway, offer bird lodgings, bird feeders, and cultivate an outdoor garden.
Yes, full of nice honey or nectar. That's point 2, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
And the blurb to this one is, some plant and animal species are under threat in our town. We can all help encourage urban biodiversity, and many townspeople can do to encourage birds and insects who settle on their balconies.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, have a look through it. There's some really cool ideas and probably fun to do with the kids or your grandchildren. Put these things together, make a whole lot of pollinator castles and hang them with a string. Things like that. They look really cool. If you take up the challenge that this article's giving you, send us an email and let us know how you go with it. That'd be awesome. Yeah,
absolutely. And we got a bird feeder, didn't we? It looks like a bee. We put some seed in it, and now it's growing grass.
We should get a photo of that for everyone to see.
Yeah, that's strange.
Yeah, we'll have to put that on. Do you want to put that on the show note thingies?
I can do that.
Okay, we'll do that.
This is a great article, so I encourage you guys to look at it and make your balcony a biodiversity sanctuary.
And you know what else you're offering when you're doing this? You're offering quite a varied contribution to the nutrients that the bees are getting. So, yeah, go for it, guys.
Absolutely.
Go for it.
Let's move on to questions from you. This is where we have questions from you guys, and we try and answer them to the best of our ability.
Okay, well, how to keep wasps away from beehives? That's a really tough one. This is from Liz in Taranaki.
The Naki. We
That's
love the
it.
Naki.
We love the Naki, and I was watching a show the other day about the Naki, and it's near Mount Taranaki, obviously. Well,
I bet it's cold down there at the
it'd
moment.
be freezing. But, yeah, they've got some wonderful, land and agriculture going on and all sorts of things. It's a lot of fishing. It's just lovely.
And lots of wasps by the sound of it.
Yeah, wasps would do well down there. How do you keep them away? Well, the difficult thing is that you can't. And this is where you run the risk of losing your colonies if you don't do something about it. I mean, there is one method, and it's often talked to. Older beekeepers have always done this method of reducing the entrance. But unfortunately, the wasps seem to be developing to extremely high predatory behaviours and are actually getting to a point where they aren't stopping. They're just hammering and hammering the hives, and the losses have been huge. And we have a two-way defence. What we do is we make our robbing screens with a mesh, and the wasps get a bit confused by the mesh and they can't find their way in. And then we reduce the entrance on the robbing screen. So it's a two-line defence. The first one is to put a mesh screen around your front of your hive and then reduce the coming and going part to a very small space, maybe two to 4 bee spaces. So that's about 8 mil per bee space. So about an inch, eh?
Yep. No, 8 mils, not an inch, but
no,
yeah.
8 mils times 4 bee spaces.
Oh yeah, about an inch. Yep.
So,
Yeah, no, you can do that, or the other way is to track down where the nests are and try and get rid of them.
yeah, because if you haven't got any wasps, they won't go near the hive. So
Yes.
yeah, that actually is probably the most logical way to do it, to find the nests. And what we understand in our studies is that they're about 100 metres away, so they won't be far away. They might be at a neighbour's place or whatever.
It's still hard to find them, but I tried that at our quarantine apiary, and it's because it's thick bush and they're very difficult to find. But the trick is to go out at dusk when the sun's shining, and you can actually see the wasps fly. You can see them flying through the air. They're like the sun highlights their wings, and watch where they go.
Yeah.
And when they're going in a straight line, you know that they're just travelling. But when they go in a straight line and suddenly drop down, you know that's where the nest is.
Yeah,
so look out for that.
That's good. And the worst time that I've seen is first thing in the morning before the bees are really active. They seem to try and hammer the hive really early. And then they also do it at night when most of the bees are inside, but they're just trying their luck, really, as the girls are all coming home. So, yep. So good luck with that, Liz. And, build a robbing screen.
Or buy one from Kiwi Mana. Plug, there was.
Plug.
Anyway.
Okay.
Anyway, the next one. Do you need to feed bees when it rains? Well, if they've got honey, no. But if they've got no honey, then what are you doing?
Well, let's put this in context. If you are a hobbyist beekeeper, generally you know what is going on in your hive because you're inspecting it on a regular basis. So when it rains, the bees do stay inside and they will feed off their honey. If you don't have enough honey in the hive and it rains for long periods, they can eat quite a bit. Because when they're inside, they're trying to keep the cluster warm and everything like that, and they can't replenish what they aren't collecting. So, yes, the thing is that you don't feed them anything else. You make sure that you've got plenty of stores in there. The last resort is sugar feeding. And if you do sugar feed, we always recommend putting thyme in there, and that is a definite help for them. And that helps them with varroa as well.
Absolutely. And the next one is, how does Epistan work? This is from Jarvis in New York, and Epistan is a product made by Vita.
And it's...
Well, I don't agree with it, but
Well,
that's not the question.
Yeah. In
So
terms...
we need to find out
Yeah.
how it works.
In terms of treatments, in the beekeeping world, there are different kinds of treatments. One is called synthetic, which means it's a man-made product. Okay? Then there's organic treatments, which are usually made from concentrates of natural oils that affect the target pest. So thyme is something that the Varroa hate. So having thyme around the hives or something like that is a good thing. Putting it in the sugar syrups if you want to, and using some of those treatments.
Yeah.
So most of the organic treatments don't have the same effects as these,
No.
such as Epistan. So you're looking at, when you use a synthetic treatment, research is showing that you're creating resistance. And that means that the target pest, which is in this case the Varroa destructor mite, is becoming a stronger mite. So,
Yep. Well, back to Jarvis's question, how does it work? Because what does it contain? It contains fluorivite and
fluvalinate.
fluvalinate, and which is a man-made chemical, as Margaret said. It's a synthetic chemical, which is toxic to varroa mites. And how it works is that they're on strips, and it rubs off onto the bees, and then the bees spread it around the hive. The problem with it is it's fat soluble, which means it soaks into your wax foundation. So that's the problem with that, and it's highly toxic to fish. So if someone uses this and they throw the old strips away into the creek or into the rubbish sack, they'll probably end up in the sea or something, and it can be highly toxic to fish.
Okay, yeah. Fluvalinate is the residue of it has a unique pyrethroid material with reduced toxicity to bees. Is rubbed and tracked off the plastic strips onto the bees. Over time, the bees absorb enough acaricide on their ecoskeletons and track enough material over the combs to make them toxic to mites.
Yeah, and that's one by Dr. Eric Musson from UC Davis in America. So basically, the level of poison isn't enough to kill the bees, but it is enough to kill the mites. So you're sort of like half poisoning them. Kind of thing.
Well, yes, you are. And like describing the different types of treatments that are available is probably very good for people to know, because then you can make a conscious choice about what you are putting in there. And over time, these kind of treatments, which are classed as synthetics and man-made, can actually cause longer-term toxicity. And if you're keeping frames for 3 years or whatever, then you are looking at building up those toxins in the actual wax, as Gary was saying.
Absolutely, but my recommendation is, before you do any treatments, have a look at what the active ingredient is of the treatment, and see and do some research yourself, because it's easy to find. You can just Google.
Yeah.
You can Google the active ingredients, and you can actually see the studies and everything.
Yeah, and just what you were saying about cleaning up, you've got to be aware that when you put these kind of things into the hive, whether they're, these synthetic ones or they're organic ones, they are sometimes high concentrations of stuff, so it can cause irritation. And the organic ones will not cause irritation, but they are still concentrate. So removing any kind of that sort of stuff and disposing it properly is what you should be doing. So, clean that stuff up. Don't leave it lying around. You can affect the waterways and that kind of thing. So clean up any waste from your apiary and don't leave it out because that just encourages more pests.
Absolutely. If you do use these strips, you need to dispose of them at a registered chemical disposal place. You can't just throw them in the rubbish bin.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realise that.
Yeah, I didn't realise that because I don't use that stuff.
I know, but, some people out there might use it.
The interesting thing is that whenever you look at any of these products, they're all starting with api, and the reason is obviously because it
means bee.
It means bee. So it's bee treatment basically, and api this and api that. So don't get confused. Go and have a look at the different kinds because, if you want to be organic, you really need to check what you're choosing. If you come to Kiwi Mana, we only use organic treatments.
Absolutely. So let's move on to blog posts coming soon.
Woohoo!
And blog posts coming soon. We've got an interview with Bill Cathedral from the Bee Vlog.
Geez, Gary, you are so cool. You've just done all this work. It's just awesome.
Thank you. Well, Bill's done a lot of work too. He's done about thousands of videos about beekeeping.
I thought a bee vlog was just a joke.
No, because a vlog is like a blog, but with a V meaning for video.
So hear that, guys? You heard that here on Kiwi Mana, Beekeeping, that a bee vlog is all about video blogging.
Yeah, I didn't realise there's such a thing as a vlog, but I talked to Bill about it and I've learned to see.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, and that's why it's good to talk to other people who are doing these things because we're learning all the time of all these new cool stuff.
Yeah.
And we are so thrilled that we can share that with you. So a bee vlog is a visual blog. Absolutely,
and Bill's got some fantastic videos here. He's got one about dissecting bees, which is a bit gruesome, but it's...
Oh,
it's interesting.
Haven't they got enough to deal with, man? Oh, man.
No, these are already dead, these ones, I believe.
Okay.
And we've interviewed Lauren and Aaron from Jennings Apiaries, our great executive producers. That's coming soon.
Yeah, what an awesome team, and so cool about, and really adventurous. They get into some really interesting things, and wow, some of those photos. Go and check them out. Jennings Apiaries.
And what other ones have we got? We've got that one about the swarm in the tree.
Tree hive, beehive. That's coming up, and that's from Margaret. And, it's exciting times, I tell you. The interesting thing about that, no, I can't tell you because you've got to come back and get that later.
Absolutely. So sign up for our newsletter, kiwimana.co.nz/sign up, and you'll get noticed about that.
Easy peasy to do too, guys. So, but since you're here, we're just grateful for that. And
absolutely.
We've got some feedback that's come through. So
let's get into feedback. But also, I've updated the beekeeping podcasts that's coming out soon. All the other beekeeping podcasts in the world. Oh,
yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah. No, it is. It's interesting because it's. I like to tell everyone about the other beekeeping podcasts.
Awesome.
So, anyway, let's have a break and we'll be back with feedback from you guys.
Whoa, that one really blew me away. Woo.
Feedback from you guys. This is from email. This is a great guy called Bobby Whitfield. And he likes listening to the show and he's became interested in beekeeping in the summer of 2014 while cutting hay around an apiary. And he was on a tractor. I can imagine this, on a tractor, and he discovered iTunes. And he found the podcast and has listened to every episode.
Oh, that's awesome.
Some twice and some even 3 times, he was saying.
Okay, maybe 3 times, he says. A lot of laughs.
Great info and humour. Keep up the excellent work. Well, thank you, Bobby.
Cheers
it's fantastic.
for that.
And he goes on to say he's got 2 nukes and he's caught several swarms. And he also said at the end, this is addictive, and I should have listened to Michael Bush's advice. That's when we interviewed him, when he said, run away quickly.
I love the way you used uppercase on that one, buddy.
Because
Bobby.
He was shouting that out there, Bobby.
Sorry, Bobby.
Well, thanks for that feedback, Bobby, and also for your review, which is coming up too. So, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking time to put that out for us, Bobby. And, You got to make hay while the sun shines. Same with bees.
Exactly, and it's awesome. You've listened to some of our shows 3 times. I thought I was the only crazy one that did that. But anyway, iTunes reviews. This is where we get reviews from you guys on iTunes. So thanks so much for this because it really helps us.
I want to read this one too.
Okay, well this first one, Margaret will read.
Okay. Outstanding information and great entertainment. Brandon and the Bees, 5 stars. United States of America. New beekeeper here with 2 hives, and over the last 3 weeks I've listened to all of the podcasts from the start and now can't wait for the next installment. Haha. Keep up the good work. Awesome guys. Yeah. This is from Brandon, born in Texas, and he put that to us on Wednesday the 13th of May. So, wow, that's awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Brandon. That really cheers us up, doesn't it?
Yeah, some days when it gets a bit tough out there, I really love hearing these comments because, then I'll just go and start doing the next thing. And yeah,
absolutely,
it's inspirational to hear your
and we're gonna
feedback.
Print all these off and have a big wall of feedback.
Of awesomeness.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's going to be cool. Anyway, the next one, this is from Bobby again. So he's a dynamo, this guy. He's amazing. He's saying, this podcast is my favourite podcast. Oh, beekeeping podcast. That's all right. It's full of great information, news and humour. Most of the best interviews I've heard. I've been on the buzz.
Whoa, on the buzz, eh? The Kiwimana buzz.
Keep up the great work. Thanks, Bobby. Keep up the great reviews. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I
Bobby's
appreciate that.
from Arkansas.
Arkansas.
I'm sorry.
Arkansas. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I got that wrong.
That's all right.
Arkansas. Okay, another one. This one's from New Zealand, so woo, Kiwi.
We like New Zealand reviewers.
Yeah. Says, love my bees. Bees on the moon. 5 stars from New Zealand. Thank you, Kiwimana. My bees are happier than ever with those helpful tips. Best beekeeping podcast in New Zealand and maybe the world. Cheers for that. And I know who that came from. And thank you so much, Aidan.
Yes, thank you, Aidan, for that.
And
awesome
happy
review.
birthday.
Wow, yes. Well, it was your birthday last week as well, wasn't it? So happy birthday to Margaret as well.
Okay, now we're looking at Patreon. You can become our patron.
Yes, if you value what we do, please consider supporting our podcast. The podcast is funded by our patrons, and we really appreciate your help.
And just like Aaron and Lauren from Jennings Apiaries, you can support us if you find that there's some value in what we're giving to you and sharing with you. Then you can support us from as little as $1 a month to $1 million.
Yes,
Woo-hoo!
indeed. So check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com, which is patreon/Kiwimana.
Awesome.
And there's some good goals there. And I've added some new goals. Have you seen the goals?
Well, I look forward to that, considering it's for Kiwimana and we should be both putting them together.
Well, you're obviously busy doing something else.
Oh, always busy.
But we've got
busy like a little foraging bee in spring.
We've got some goals there, and the first goal is chocolate biscuits again.
Oh, yeah. They've been a bit slack this year with the chocolate biscuits, I must admit.
So if we get some more money, we can buy a packet of chocolate biscuits and we'll have it on the deck, and we'll send you a photo.
The coolest thing about Patreon is that by having this support, we can do the project work that we're looking at. And, even other donations that we've received from our donate button has meant that we were able to do some work with the classes that we've been having, and we're modifying the programs to have some more how-to seasonally. So we're looking at that. So, understanding that with these contributions, it means that we can do more work to help you guys with your beekeeping.
Absolutely. Another goal we're going to look at doing is getting transcriptions for the interview podcast. If we get, because there's a lot of feedback about the Randy Oliver one. A lot of people like that transcription, but it does cost money. So
yeah, that is the thing. The work that we do does cost money. So yeah.
So no, that's awesome, guys. We'd really appreciate your help on that.
And one thing I just want to say is that we are getting a lot of support from the UK, the USA and Australia. We've had people buying our suits now and our products. And, thank you so much for buying from us here in little old Kiwi land and our Kiwi Nirvana. And, just know that it is really appreciated. And we did get some great thanks from Anita over in, where was she?
America somewhere.
Yeah, she was just saying that she really appreciated the thanks that she got with the product and loved that, excellent service. So, yeah, thanks, Anita, for getting back to us about that. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Anita. It's really great to hear you're happy with with us. That's fantastic. And we also have a newsletter which will start up again in our August. So it's everyone's August. And that's at kiwimana.co.nz/sign up. And I hope you guys have a great winter in New Zealand and a great bee season in overseas.
So can I just ask, what will Kiwi beekeepers been doing over winter now?
They should be catching up on all the old podcasts, reading books, making beehives.
Buying Cliff Van Eaton's Manuka honey book,
yes,
so they know about
that.
the product they're producing in their colonies.
And in their garages making frames ready for the season, so when the swarm season starts, they'll all be ready.
Yeah, they'll be cleaning their old gear and getting those frames all tidied up and new wax. So contact us and get your orders in.
Absolutely. Their shop will still be open over the winter, so if you need some any gear to get ready, because it's much better to start now so you can be totally ready when the swarm season starts. Because what quite often will happen is when the swarm season starts, the phone runs red, doesn't it?
Oh, gosh, yeah. People say, I want to get a swarm, but I need a box and I need frames and I need this and I need it now.
Yeah, so...
Pretty much.
And we're going to be spending the winter building products to get ready for that and to try and get down our waiting list down so we can get some products out to people.
Yeah, we're really excited about our workshop, and we'll send you some photos when we get some things in place for that.
Yeah, and a new shop area. It's
we're so excited.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you know what we're also experiencing a lot is a lot of you are buying children's bee suits, and you know what I love to see, the most exciting thing, and it's pretty similar to the photo we have on the website. These kids in their suits, their bee suits, and they're so brave to get out there and get involved and help, mum and dad or nana. So, it's really cool, and we love seeing people teach their, children or grandchildren beekeeping, the love of bees. So keep up the good work, guys. Awesome.
Absolutely. It's great to see kids getting involved because they are the future of beekeeping, aren't they?
Absolutely.
So try and encourage your kids, guys, and let them ask questions and help you with it. Be awesome.
Okay, so what's next, Gary?
Well, that's the end of the show, Dale. So we'll see you guys in a couple of months.
And happy winter to our Kiwi beekeepers, and happy spring to our overseas beekeepers. And we hope it's productive, and all the best with it. And we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely, we'll try and get one guest podcast out if we can over the winter. We'll see how we go. We'll can't promise anything.
Oh no, we like to just surprise you.
Exactly. So keep subscribed on iTunes, and we will be putting a new podcast in your feed soon.
Yeah, so enjoy, guys, and thank you so much for your time, and we love ya.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, guys. We'll see you later.
See ya.